Hey everyone, here is how you are going to work through the wayfinding slide deck as a part of phase two. So first of all, wayfinding sounds and means what the compound word says it does, which is finding your way. You are on your path to finding your way to your topic of your podcast. Some reminders about your topic. Once you pick your topic, that is what your podcast is going to be about. There's no changing a day later, a week later, a month later. And that's okay because this is your first podcast. It doesn't have to be the thing you love the most. It's just what you're interested in and what you decide on after finishing your wayfinding. Notice that there is a literal path that follows on the slides so you know that you are on the path to figuring out what your podcast topic is going to be about. You can always get inspiration from one of these podcasts. You can think about the format, you can think about the content, you can think about the words, the guests, all that kind of information that goes into making a podcast. The first thing you're going to start with are your interests. You are going to pick and explain an interest based on each topic. So you need to have all five of these filled out. So if a moment in history that interests you is, let's say, the civil rights movement, you would type that here, and then you would move on to the next one. You have to pick something that's going on in your school or community. Let's say you're interested in uniforms. You would type that in. After you finish filling all those out, then you're going to go to the next slide. This is where you are going to help refine your interests. Based on those five, you are going to pick one of these colored categories, which are your podcast formats and topics, and you're going to read an article, a short story, and a poem that all fit into this one category. Click on the titles, and you will see that they are all linked. So you're only going to pick one. So if you're interested in a moment in history, you're only going to read these three texts. If you're interested in something that kids understand that adults don't, you're only going to read these three texts, etc. Now, what you do have to do is open these slides and copy and paste that passage into this slide deck. So as it's making a copy, as it's loading, if I'm interested in a moment in history, I am going to copy and paste the article that I'm reading into this slide deck so that you have everything that you need in one place. You will end up with a copy of the article, a copy of your poem, and a copy of the fiction short story in this wayfinding slide deck. You're then going to put your annotations for each one right here. So you're going to tell me the title. You're going to do your quick who, what, why, and how for annotating the controlling idea and a summary. For your fable that you're going to read, you're going to tell me the characters, the conflict, and the theme, and then you're going to explain each part of the plot. One sentence summary or less that it tells me what's happening in the exposition, the conflict, rising action, the climax, falling action, resolution. Your poem, you're going to start by doing a literal meaning or literal description of your meaning. So tell me what's happening in the poem, your what from Wham. Does it mean something deeper? Is it a metaphor? Is it comparing one thing to something else? Is it expressing something? And then the theme, you're going to tell me rhyme scheme, structural elements, and emotions or attitudes and tone in the poem. They are all connected within each category, so you're going to do a three-way comparison and finding the connections between the two. Make sure you put the titles and similarities in the middle and similarities for all three in the very middle. From there, you're going to start brainstorming. You should have 6 different ideas, bigger ideas to start. So, podcast topic ideas based on, if you're doing a moment in history, what is a moment in history that you're interested in? Well, again, if you're interested in the civil rights movement, that there. If you are interested in the French Revolution, you could type that there. If you're interested in Japanese, um, Japanese, let's call it revolution or separation from China, put that there. But each one of these should be different. You need to expand your ideas, push your thinking to try to fill in all 6 of those, even though you're only going to pick one. The next thing you're going to think about is your audience. Now that you are narrowing down your topic, you need to explain who your audience is going to be. Each one of these questions should be answered in your short explanation right here. So, what unique value or perspective can you add to the listeners' lives? So, you want to think about, who is this podcast for? Are you recording it for adults? Are you recording it for your friends? Are you recording it for people who are interested in the same topic that you're interested in? That's really important because that frames the words you use, the script you write, the ideas you present, and so much more. So answer all 5 of these questions, and then you get to explain what your podcast is going to be about. Make these into complete sentences. My topic is going to be, I will explore and show. I think this is important, so why is it important to you? And to accomplish this, I will need to. So, are you going to interview people? Do you need to collaborate with a partner? Are you recording sounds? Then you're going to need to evaluate, is this a realistic idea? Hopefully, what you've thought of before and your topic isn't too ambitious. So, is this something you can execute? Does it involve traveling somewhere far away, interviewing someone famous, etc.? That's going to be a no, all right? Unless you have certain connections. But remember, this is something we work on in school almost entirely. So, the timeline, is this something you're trying to measure over years? Then this is not the correct podcast topic to do. We'll have to change it, shift it, amend it to make it fit. So, make sure it's realistic. And then you have to pick your podcast format. Are you going to do an interview podcast? Are you working with a partner that is approved by Mr. O'Connor? Do you need a panel of people? Are you telling a nonfiction story? Or are you using repurposed content? Are you making a how-to video? Are you making something like that you're explaining maybe how parents don't understand or adults don't understand something that kids do? It's probably going to be one of these 4. And if it's number 6, we'll have to talk about it. We're not doing a fiction podcast. I repeat, we are not doing a fiction podcast. That is not one of our topics this time. We will be writing fiction later this year, but not right now. And be sure that you explain why this format is best for your topic. That's the end of Wayfinding. If you have questions, please let me know.